Welcome to Disrupting Japan, straight talk from Japan's most successful entrepreneurs. I'm Tim Romero, and thanks for joining me. Today, we're going to be talking about something that's, frankly, pretty difficult to talk about on an audio podcast. Tatsuo Nakamura founded Valuenex in 2006 to use artificial intelligence and modern visualization techniques to help his clients make sense of their patent portfolios and to keep an eye on what the competition is doing. In fact, this technology uncovered some of the core evidence that decided the famous blue LED case. It's highly effective, but highly visual. So let me try to explain it. Valuenex creates a kind of topographical map that shows companies where in the market their IP is strong and where it's weak. This can let them spot new market opportunities or learn what their competition is about to do. It's all pretty intuitive when you see it, but today we'll have to use our imagination as a kind of screen simulation. But Tatsuo and I also talk about Valuenex's U.S. market entry. Well, there are two U.S. market entries, actually. We cover what he sees as the best overall strategy for AI startups, for them to find their product-market fit. And Tatsuo explains how he was able to accidentally discover a significant collaboration between two world-famous companies 6 months before the project was announced. But you know, Tatsuo tells that story much better than I can. So let's get right to the interview. I'm sitting here with Tatsuo Nakamura, the CEO and founder of Valuenex. So thanks for sitting down with me.
Thank you very much.
Now, Valuenex is a leader in visualization and big data analytics, and it's so hard to talk about visualizations on an audio podcast.
Yes.
But we're going to try. So what's the best way to explain? What does Valuenex do?
Valuenex is predictive analytics company using the big data analytics. The main purpose is finding the future situation and making the strategy for our client.
Okay. And you specialize in intellectual property and patents mostly, right?
Yes, because patent documentation is very, very good, useful for data source. Because there's many fields, technical data, and there's a very clean documentation, so it is easy to analyze.
Patents especially are interesting. I've heard from a few people in AI that right now AI can read patents better than humans can because the language is so specialized and unusual that it's really well suited to AI.
Yes, so at first when the people enter the IP fields, this is a confusion because this is not a language. This is a special word. However, when they apply the machine technologies, it is easy to understand because it is a very some kind of mechanism for the sentence. So it is easy to transfer to the machine languages.
Okay, so once the algorithm goes through hundreds of thousands of patents and uses machine learning and AI to understand the contents, it builds kind of clusters of meaning around it, right?
Mm-hmm. Can you imagine if the 400 documentation was there? So how many relations that each side?
Oh, well, it's geometric, right? So
yes.
Quickly get into the tens of millions of...
Yes, it is a huge relationship.
Right, so a human being cannot possibly understand that from text information.
Yes, so if the very special persons try to the readings each by each, so probably it takes over 10 years.
Right. Have a bunch of patent attorneys put them in a room. And
But it's serious. In the Japanese major company, IP teams, that over 50 people are working for the leading for the analytics until 5 years ago. So now, of course, this is old styles. Now the people are using the analytics tools.
And so Valuenex takes this information, it creates the visualization, the output is sort of like an IP heat map.
Yep.
So the users can see where the IP is clustered and
basically it's the three layer. When we think about the next products or next markets based on the technologies, at first we describe the technology mapping, technology landscaping, and finding the significant technology and connected to the product, either the competitive product or service. So if there's no product or services, this is a good opportunities. So yeah.
Okay, so you could use the visualization to say, okay, we've got a hot cluster of technology in this space, but it looks open in terms of products in the market.
Well, most of the cases market-driven analytics. So the people wanted to have the more right device, then try to changing the materials. But on this side, every day try to making the new items. So they want to know where is the market.
Oh wow! Yeah, so I guess it can go in both directions.
Yes.
So, well, tell me a bit about your customers. How are your customers mainly using this?
At first, we started our service is R&D side. So manufacturing companies, R&D division and IP division, they have many technology, many ideas. So I guess 99% idea and technology was not released. However, I think that there's more opportunities, more good services. Then they have to using the panoramic view analytics, describing this idea and this technology is very similar, and they can be combined.
So is that the most common use case, where it's sort of your customer using it bottom up?
Ideally, it is a very good way. However, any company has a division and may have secret wars.
Yeah.
So they can't reach to another field.
I could see that. Yeah, the technology, it seems ideal for just looking and saying, hey, you have an opportunity, but the different divisions in the company force them to have more of a product focused.
Yeah. So if someone think about, this technology is very good for the vehicle technologies. However, they are just materials, so they have to collaborate with the electronic field persons. They can't work that.
So for example, let's say I was the division chief at a big database company and responsible for the automotive industry. Could I say, let's look at all of our patents and see what might be suitable for the automotive industry, what blank spaces there are that we could exploit? Would that be a good use of Valuenex?
Yes, so the concrete case is chemical company, the Asahi Kasei. At first, they rejected us because they have the analytics teams. But when they use our methodologies, this is good work for the Asahi Kasei president, corporate president, because the big company's president have some kind of the images for each division's relationships. So our data chart is almost the same for the president's ideas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we can easily point out, this two divisions should be the collaboration. These both division has the white space, so collaborate making the bridge technologies.
It sounds like, this is really interesting. It sounds like you took the customer's biggest objection to your product, that it was bottom up and we had all these walls, and you said, let me explain these walls to you.
Yes.
That's great.
Yes, I established 2006 these companies, so always the starting point is negative starting.
Well, actually, I want to drill down deep into the marketing and to the technology in a minute. But before that, let's let's step back a bit and talk about you and when you founded Valuenex. So at Stanford, you and I were talking, and you mentioned the importance of the blue LED case.
I see. Yes.
Yes.
And can you tell me about that? I think that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So this sample case is very famous in Japan, and this is a very big event for the society and also me. However, some part of the confidential. So, but I can say that I was a project leader at these court issues. I was belong to the niche chemical companies. At that time, it's 2005. So many people want to know why these court issues lead to the opposite. So niche chemical companies, IP divisions responsible asked us to use the radar chart. Just using these radar is very helpful for the explain to the courts. So just 2 points. One point is the main patent is we call the 404 patent. This 404 patent has a similar patent. So Mr. Akasaki had issued the patent advanced to the Nakamura Shuji. And other is NTT has. NTT's patent and Mr. Akasaki's patent is very similar 404 patent. Just only the Japan Patent Office didn't aware that.
So what the visualization showed was that this 404 patent was not as unique as the researcher was claiming.
Yes.
And so he shouldn't have been awarded like the full amount he was asking for.
Yes, and another point is niche chemical company didn't use 404 patent.
Oh, okay.
So their core area is close to the 404 patent. However, when describing the radar chart, niche chemicals core technology areas here, far from 404 point here. There are no bridge, no relationship for each side.
And so you sort of proved the usefulness of the technology, or at least the approach, in that patent lawsuit. And so were you still teaching at Waseda at that point?
Yes. Todai and Waseda.
What was this technology coming out from university research?
No. Sometimes our methodology is generated in the university. No.
But in this case, no. It came from outside.
Yeah, but so our stakeholder is Waseda University, and our main lead investor is venture capital of the Waseda University. So.
Oh, okay. Did you always want to start a company and just happen to be teaching until you could make that happen, or?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's still pretty rare for people to transition from being a university professor to running a company.
Mm-hmm. I am a little rare in Japan, so the academic side and the business side. But in Silicon Valley area, so there's many startups related to the universities. So it is a very popular cases.
Well, I think at Stanford, the professor who doesn't want to start a startup is very unusual.
Yeah, it's a good situation.
But in Japan, it's the opposite.
Yeah. In Japan, professor is just only in university, so they don't know the outside of the university. So this is not good for the student.
I agree. And actually, so before you started teaching, you were at Mitsubishi Research for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very interesting and unusual career path in Japan. It'd be very normal in the US.
Yes.
But to go from an organization like Mitsubishi Research to the University of Tokyo to running a startup, it just sounds like some really big changes. And I'm curious, why?
Yeah.
What was your motivation at each time?
At the first started my business life is from the Mitsubishi Research Institute, and 3 years later I transferred to the University of Tokyo. Because at this time it's the Mitsubishi Research Institute and METI and University of Tokyo collaborated. So I worked at 3 years and a half at the University of Tokyo.
Okay.
And after that, I back to the Mitsubishi Research Institute and worked 9 years. So at 2001, I make the business strategy plan. But can you imagine that at that time, so there's no big data word.
No, it was before cloud computing, before big data, yeah. Okay, so you always kind of had a foot in both worlds. You've always had a connection to the business side and to the university side.
Yes. And now so we're working with Waseda University and...
Is that something that's changing in Japan now? 20 years ago, I mean, you would never hear of a university professor on the board of a company, board of a startup.
Yes.
Yeah, but we're seeing more and more. Is that something that's changing, do you think?
Yeah, I think this 10 years very changing because university have to arrive. So I don't remember the accurate year, but around 2003, Monkasho changing their policy to supporting the university. Just only the 40 university receives budget from the government.
Okay.
So the starting the competitiveness in the universities after the 2003. So they ordered to the hiring the talented professor from the outside of the universities.
Okay, so it's the universities are kind of being forced to change.
Yeah.
Well, that's the only way they're going to change. I mean, well, I just thinking about it. I mean, it would seem that the ideal use for Valuenex would be working with universities to look at their technology and their patent portfolios, because there's a tremendous amount of IP at universities, and Japanese universities are terrible at commercializing it. I mean, you must have proposed this to the universities already. Have they been interested in it?
So my case is university is a good stock for the student. It's a good relationship to the.
Well, that is important. But
yes, and good future customers. Yeah, so every October so I have the class, and several students come to our office as an intern.
Yeah, I can see why that'd be very valuable for both sides. Yeah. But don't the universities themselves want to use Valuenex to, for example, look at their own patents and look at their own technology and say, hey, we have this great cluster in healthcare, or what we're doing now could really be applied to driverless vehicles, or it seems like such a good fit.
Probably in 10 years or 20 years, the professor changing. So the next professor's generation is like me.
We have to wait a whole nother generation. I don't want to wait that long.
Yeah, it takes a long time.
No, but I mean, it seems like what you have is more of a prioritization tool. It's not like a black box, but it would tell those 20 patent attorneys, you should look at this cluster.
So our tool is not suitable for the typical IP business. So, because our business is so focused on the making strategies, finding the future situations. Priority search, of course, we can do that, but this is not so different for the other just searching.
Somewhere I saw a mention of use Valuenex to find an intersection between Google and Honda.
Yes.
Can you talk about that? Because I thought that was a great example.
Yeah, at 2013, when I visited Google's head office for the discussion about the IP issues, I made the sample case. So because Honda Research Institute is close to the Honda head office, so just reason, this is just reason why I use Honda and Google's. So I made Honda whole patent and Google's whole patent. Of course, there's far from each other, but between each core technologies, this is same areas. This is CCD camera technologies. So Honda and Google has the same patent here. So I asked Google, in this case, are you compete with Honda, or do you collaborate with Honda? Nothing. So he rejects the comment. because
So you knew that was a great question.
Yes. So it's 6 months later, they collaborate with each other.
Okay, so that sort of heat map, those clusters told you something was happening.
Yes.
Excellent. Let's talk a bit about kind of AI business models, because AI, artificial intelligence, over the last 40 years, maybe 50, it keeps going in these cycles, right?
Yes.
And before you mentioned that part of your business is in consulting and part of it is in like platform and tool sales. Can you say about like how much of your business is platform and how much of your business is consulting?
Our goal is providing the solution for the customers. So the three types of methodologies, just providing our tools, and the second is just consultations, and the three is using our tools and consultations. Because just a tool provides just 70% of the customer satisfaction. So we have to add more values by the human intelligence. So this is current limitation of 70%.
Of course, everyone wants to sell software because that scales the best.
Yeah.
So the consulting you do, is it mostly kind of like training, or is it data cleansing? Is it what kind of consulting do your customers need?
The consultation is making the insight. So how to extract the insight from the analytics result.
Okay, so helping your customers make sense of the results, tell them what it means.
Yes.
Actually, it's been interesting. Just in the last, say, 4 or 5 years, the AI industry is changing pretty quickly. So, like 4 years ago, there was a lot of sort of general AI companies. You know, companies saying, just give us your data and we'll show you the insights. But it seems these days the AI companies that are successful all tend to have a very narrow specialty.
Yes.
So whether it's IP, whether it's like fault detection, do you think that's the best strategy for AI companies? Do you think they have to focus on a small?
Yeah. So the very famous AI companies focus on the manufacture improvement. So they release one of the success stories, so they can reduce cost because manufacture line improving. But this is just focus on this special line, so they can't providing these algorithm to the another lines. Which is better? Quality is not good, but they're using the many person. Or the specific customizing and very expensive algorithm, but this is very good qualities. So both is different.
Yeah, it seems like the dream of AI and always the promise of AI is the black box solution. Just the answers come out. But it sounds like in your case, you were saying like your customers need help understanding what the results mean. And
so x-axis is the quantity and y-axis is the quality. Our service is some kind of here, but just visualization service is not so high quality, but there's a huge market. Our service is not so many market, but the high quality, high services.
Right. So selling the services and the understanding that go along with the AI.
Yes. So the AI is improving rapidly, and finally we moving here.
Okay. So you think over time, as AI improves, you'll be able to do less and less consulting and let the platform do more and more of the work?
Yes. So our methodology is using the batch file technology. So this is not real time. So user have to wait in several minutes or sometimes several hours.
Well, I think for like IP analysis, that's no problem, I'd imagine.
Yeah, of course. The over 100,000 documentation should be over 10 years. Just one hour we can calculate. But most people are familiar to the search engines. Just 0.2 seconds coming the results. So we have to think about how to reducing the times.
What do you see as the biggest challenge in making that happen? Is it the AI algorithms have to get better? Is it that you have to understand the domain better? Is it what has to change?
I think that this is optimization methodologies. This is not AI. Optimization methodology is realized by the quantum computing. So now people's focusing is AI, but I believe the next stage is should be using the quantum computing.
Well, quantum computing, it's hard to know. We always seem like so close to it, but we always seem to be like 2 or 3 years away from quantum computing.
Yeah, so 5 years ago, all scientists said quantum computing realized after the 2030. But D-Waves, other quantum computing companies starting small services from next year.
Let me ask you kind of a different question. So you went public last year, and there's been a real trend in the last few years among Japanese startups to stay private longer and delay the IPO. So what was Valuenex's motivation for IPOing as opposed to staying private and keeping that flexibility?
What's the purpose? The purpose is very simple. So we want to use our methodology to expanding the worldwide. So how to realize worldwide activities.
Was going public necessary for funding reasons or like reputation reasons?
Both sides, yes. So funding reason is for starting the next generation's development. And reputation is how hiring the good talented person.
Well, actually, yeah, let's talk a bit about your global expansion and your market entry strategy, because that is something that all high-quality Japanese startups are thinking about going global now. You began your U.S. market entry 2014, was it?
Yeah, 2014, yes. So at first, when I started the Valuenex 2006 in Tokyo, next year, 2007, I opened the San Jose office.
So you opened a San Jose office the next year?
Yes. Because when I established my company, these methodologies should be expanding in worldwide from the start.
That's really fast to go global.
Yes.
So again, was your goal to establish credibility by having a U.S. office? Was it to like try to reach U.S. talent for programming and ideas, or was it sales? What was your goal that early?
Yeah, so at that time, just starting the startup and just to enter the US side, I don't know the management. Of course, I don't know the regulations. What is attorney? No, everything no. So I supported from the San Jose incubation office. Fortunately, I successed the fundraising twice at that time. So we had some kind of huge monies at that time. However, the 2009, the Lehman shock was occurred. So our stakeholder ordered me to back to the Tokyo, close the San Jose office. 2009.
Oh, so 2014 was actually going back to the U.S.
Yeah. So it is a good story and bad stories. So, bad story is the 2009, at the time, there's no big data, no AI analytics tools in the US side. But so when I re-entered the 2014, the US side, of course, there's many AI analytics and big data companies. So we had to catch up these companies. The good story is that during the developing our tools in only Japanese market, we developed the original way. This is a different way for the big data analytics. Because the US and worldwide big data analytics is expanding this style.
So trying to be more, like I was saying, where everyone wants to be the platform.
Platform.
Without like specific expertise.
Yes, not qualities. But our side, our methodology is keeping the quality. So this is the reason why we are now competed in the US side.
So it goes back to those clusters again. Everyone else was like clustered around the platform business, and you were providing very specific technology. Okay. But yeah, opening up a U.S. office 1 year after you start the company, is that something you would recommend to other startups to do?
No. yeah. In fact, at that time, it's a very hard way for it. Yeah. So funny story. So me and sometimes my member driving the car by rent a car, sometimes enters the tram line. and police call us, stop us. Oh, you are a junk driver. Oh gosh, yeah, there's many troubles outside.
So these days, do you spend most of your time in Tokyo or most of your time in San Francisco?
Now, after the 2014, the half of years staying in Tokyo and half staying in the US.
All right. So you were mentioning that the year after you start your company is far too early to do a US market entry. So what would your advice be to Japanese startup founders? When should they start thinking about doing market entry?
Typical idea for the Japanese startup companies, at first they making the market share in Japan, and after they want to enter the US. This is not good for the going to the US side. Yeah, because the market culture and the UI UX is always different between the US and Japan. So if they want global market, they have to think about going to the at first US or the global.
So when do they know it's time? So is it, like after you have product market fit with your Japanese customers? Is it after you raise a certain amount of money? Is it just as soon as possible? When would you advise the right time?
So it depends on the field. So fintech and big data analytics is 4 years differential from the worldwide market and the Japan market, and the type is big difference. However, the biotech, some kind of material science is a big advantage in the Japan side. So they have to keep in their technology or the ideas or IP, and so think about consider how to enter the US market.
All right. A lot of startup founders have told me that the VCs give them a lot of pressure not to do market entry until after the IPO. Because a lot of Japanese VCs just, they're focused on that IPO.
Yeah.
And it's okay. But they're saying, no, start, market entry, that sounds risky and expensive, and why don't you just wait? But you've started your market entry, twice. Yes. Both times before the IPO. Did your investors complain about that, or were they supportive of that?
Very fortunately, the lead investor is very supported me. So over 10 years holding the stock share. And after IPO, they not still release their stock.
Wow.
Yeah, this is a very strange in Japan.
It's like ideal investor.
Yes.
Just keep it forever.
Yeah, they want to keep forever, and also so they're looking for the good collaborator for the next stage stakeholders. So this is an important thing. So how collaborate with the startup founder and venture capital persons.
And as part of that market entry into the US, were your first US customers subsidiaries of your Japanese customers, or did you have to develop a customer base from scratch?
When we enter the US side, soon I aware we have to changing the UI, UX and activity. So we contract with Silicon Valley's developers and changing most of the part of the UI, UX.
Okay, so for the business side, it was really starting from zero again.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, listen, Tatsuo, before we wrap up, I want to ask you what I call my magic wand question. And that is, if I gave you a magic wand and I told you that you could change one thing about Japan, anything at all, the education system, the way people think about risk, the legal system, anything at all to make it better for startups and innovation in Japan, what would you change?
Yeah, I wanted to change Japanese people's mind. Because long history of Japan, Japanese peoples basically they want to go abroad, But now, these 20 years, they're keeping it inside. They don't want to go abroad.
So why is it important that Japanese people go abroad? Is it
because just this is not a business, not only business, private is okay. So communicate with other cultures, persons. People think aware, oh, this is different, or this is another ways.
Is the advantage that they see new ideas, or just that it gets more flexible thinking?
Typically, the Japanese think about former ways. Currently, the people can finding easily, just searching. But they have to think about before the searching, what should be do, how should do that. So using another culture, another peoples, another ways, diversity is very important for making the new idea, new insight.
Okay, so it just makes people aware that there are different ways of thinking, and you have to approach problems differently. And I think there's a general agreement that, like, kind of in principle, diversity is good.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned, Japan's in an interesting situation now where, because of the internet, in some ways it's easier than ever for people to be exposed to new ideas. But as you mentioned, travel's actually decreasing. And what do you think's going on there? Do you think people are getting more closed or more open to outside? What do you think's happening?
Yeah, so after the collapse of bubble, the 1991, people became very conservative. They don't want to challenging everything. Yeah.
Okay.
So we are the last generation for the challenging generation. So the probably 30 years generation and 40 years generation can't believe our situations. Why do that? There's many risks, but we want to do that. That reason is very simple.
Do you think that's changing with the younger generation, with the Japanese who are, say, college students now?
Yes. Until 4 years ago, my class students want to be the bureaucrat or joining the huge, major, big enterprise companies. But recently, a little changing. Some part of the students starting the startup company during the student life. I expect this situation increasing.
It's progress.
Yes.
Okay, well, listen, Tatsuo, thank you so much for sitting
here. Thank you very much. I'm very exciting sport. To discuss about that.
And we're back. I found Tatsuo's comments about the challenges of selling Valuenex into large companies to be a really good example of why it's so hard to sell innovation in general. Valuenex can be used to spot new market opportunities, to open new lines of business. You think it would be easy to sell, but corporate sales doesn't work like that. When you're selling to a large enterprise, you're not being paid to solve that company's problems. You're being paid to solve the problems of whatever specific group or division is signing that contract. If the problem falls outside of their responsibility, then it's not their problem, and they probably don't want to use their budget to solve it. The challenge here is that disruptive innovation, or really just innovation in general, usually requires the involvement of several different groups, or sometimes paying attention to a problem that no one has specific responsibility for. In the story Tatsuo told about Asahi Kasei, he had to go all the way up to the CEO before he found someone who understood the importance of cross-division cooperation. And that's a problem. If you always have to go to the top, it's hard for real innovation to get traction. Also, Tatsuo gave some really interesting advice about market entry and AI market strategy in general. Now, Going into global markets as early and as hard as Valuenex is the opposite advice that is usually given to startups, but it's clearly worked for them. They were one of the handful of targeted AI companies with real domain expertise in a market flooded with generic AI platforms, so they got the attention they deserved. But it's easy to understand the appeal of black box AI. I mean, the black box AI where you simply feed in data and it gives you the answer has been a staple of both science fiction and investor interest since at least the late 60s. If such a device can be invented, the founder of that company would undoubtedly become the world's richest person. So I get the appeal. But is a black box AI possible? I mean, is it even theoretically possible? I've been through a few generations of the AI hype cycle, and I've noticed that every time there is a lot of hand-waving away of the real human expertise and the real human problem-solving that goes into creating an AI answer. It's not just the data collection and data cleansing, but figuring out exactly what the right question is and the precise way to state that question. And of course, how to interpret the AI's output. And in most real-world situations, it seems that the bulk of the value is in determining exactly what question we need to be asking. And that question is almost never the question that we start out asking. AI is an incredibly useful tool, of course, but at the moment, it looks like we humans should count on having to solve our own problems. If you want to talk about AI or selling technology to large enterprises, Tatsuo and I would love to hear from you. So come by disruptingjapan.com/show151 and let's talk about it. If you leave a comment, I guarantee you that Tatsuo or I, or maybe both, will respond. And hey, if you get the chance, check us out on LinkedIn or Facebook. But even better, if you like the show, tell people about it. Disrupting Japan has grown not by social media marketing or advertising, but because listeners like you enjoy it, and they tell their friends about it. But most of all, thanks for listening, and thank you for letting people interested in Japanese startups know about the show. I'm Tim Romero, and thanks for listening to Disrupting Japan.